All right, so airline pilot interviews. They can be pretty intimidating, right? Especially the behavioral questions.
Oh, for sure.
But we are here today to take a deep dive into a guide called Airline Pilot Interview.
Yeah.
It's designed to help you, the listener,
Mm.
nail those crucial conversations. Think of this deep dive as like your pre-flight briefing
Yeah.
for interview success.
Exactly. Getting ready, getting prepared.
Yeah. And, one thing that this guide really emphasizes is be the best version of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But before we even get into specific questions, what kind of overall vibe should we be aiming for when we walk into that room?
So you're probably going to be facing a panel,
Okay.
usually someone from flight operations,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even the chief pilot,
Oh, wow.
and then, someone from HR.
Okay.
They're assessing you in several areas.
Okay.
Your career so far,
Mm-hmm.
your personality, your knowledge about the airline, not just like aviation in general, but about that airline itself,
Okay.
how you handle leadership and teamwork. Right.
And, of course, those behavioral questions,
Right.
that's where they're really going to try and see how you think on your feet.
So it's really a holistic picture of you as a pilot. It's not just, what you know.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
It is the whole picture.
Yeah. Now, there are 3 big questions this guide says almost always pop up.
Yeah.
And the first one is, well, pretty straightforward.
Mm.
Tell us about yourself. Now, that one seems simple enough.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's more to it than just, reciting your resume.
It's more about crafting a story
Okay.
about your journey in aviation.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what sparked your passion for flying.
Mm-hmm.
Any unique experiences you've had along the way
Mm-hmm.
that have shaped you and how you've grown throughout your career.
Okay.
So, yeah, think about it as a story
Okay.
with you as the pilot in command.
I like that. It's a story.
Yeah,
A story with a clear, trajectory.
for sure.
The guide also suggests adding a memorable anecdote.
To help you stand out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, the second big question,
Okay.
what do you have to offer?
Right.
Now, this one is a bit more,
Direct.
direct. Like
Yeah.
they're saying, okay, convince us, why should we pick you?
Yeah, it is direct, but it is an opportunity.
Okay.
So the guide actually gives you a nice little acronym here.
Okay, I love acronyms.
It's PROMPT.
Prompt. Okay.
Yeah. It stands for professional, reliable, organized, meticulous, and possessing the right temperament.
So, again, it's more than just being a good stick and rudder pilot,
That's right.
right? There's more to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break that down. What do
Okay.
they mean by professional?
So that means not just skills, but how you conduct yourself.
Got it.
Reliable, now, that goes beyond showing up on time.
Mhm.
It's about consistently delivering,
Okay.
even under pressure.
Right.
Organized speaks for itself, especially in an aircraft.
Yeah.
Meticulous, that ties into safety.
Right.
That attention to detail.
Mhm.
And temperament.
Okay.
Well, let's face it, a calm head in the cockpit is crucial.
Absolutely crucial. I don't want to be up there with someone who's,
Right.
losing their cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. And it all ties nicely into that third big question.
Yeah.
Why do you want to work for our airline?
Right. Not just any airline.
Not just any airline, this one.
Yeah.
So what do we need to know to answer that one?
You need to do your research.
Okay.
You need to understand their history, their key people, the aircraft they fly, the routes they fly,
Mm.
their company culture, even what kind of challenges they're facing.
So it's like you've actually read their profile,
Exactly.
not just swiped right on the picture.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, so you're showing them,
Yeah.
I understand your values.
Yeah.
I get it. I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's switch gears a bit. Because no pilot takes off without a thorough understanding of key aviation concepts.
That's right.
Right. So we've kind of got the, soft skills down now.
Yeah.
But what about the core knowledge?
Oh, this guy does give us a couple more acronyms.
Okay, I'm all ears.
They might sound a little strange, but bear with me.
Right.
They can actually help you articulate these concepts effectively.
Okay.
So, for example, for describing a good captain,
Hmm.
we have SCRAPS.
Scrap. S. Okay, what is that?
Yeah, that stands for superior skills, knowledgeable, reliable, there's that word again, avoids confrontation, promotes CRM,
Okay.
and safety conscious.
So it really is not just about,
It's not just about the stick and rudder.
yeah, it's about leadership.
Yeah.
It's about decision-making under pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if you're asked to, let's say, describe the best captain you ever flew with.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, oh, they were great.
Yeah, right.
You can use scrap ass as this mental checklist.
Absolutely.
Were they incredibly skilled?
Yeah.
Did their knowledge really shine through? Were they reliable? Did they promote CRM? Were they safety conscious? So it helps you really articulate it.
It's a framework for thinking about what a good captain is.
I'm already seeing how this is helpful for me to think about, even beyond answering the question.
Absolutely.
It's about understanding these concepts.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got SCRAYER PS for a good captain.
Yeah.
What about leadership qualities in general? Is there an acronym for that too?
There is. CCAMPP.
CCAMPP. All right, what's that one stand for?
So that's calm, communicator, acts with integrity, makes decisions, passionate, and positive role model.
Okay, break those down a little bit more.
Okay, so obviously we know it's important for a pilot to be calm.
Yeah.
But it's more than just not panicking. It's about projecting that calmness to the crew, inspiring confidence.
Go ahead.
Communicator, obviously very important in aviation.
Yeah. Clear communication is key.
It's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
Acts with integrity. That means more than just following the rules. It's about doing the right thing even when no one's watching.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes decisions.
again.
Seems kind of obvious for a pilot.
Yeah. We make a lot of decisions up there.
We do, but it's about being decisive.
Right.
Even when you don't have all the information.
Okay.
Passionate. That's more than just loving to fly. It's about having that spark, that drive to excel.
Okay. Yeah.
And positive role model. Very important for a leader.
That seems very important for any pilot, especially a captain.
Yeah.
Because you're setting the tone for the whole flight.
That's exactly right. Setting the standard.
Yeah. Wow. These acronyms really are packed with,
They are.
a lot of meaning.
A lot of meaning. Yeah.
And again, I can see how this applies to a lot of things, not just, aviation. Now, beyond the acronyms, this guide also emphasizes some other, fundamental concepts you need to be able to talk about. Like being a good team player, for instance.
Oh, for sure. That's a given in any cockpit.
Yeah. So what are some key elements of that?
No, things like communicating effectively, collaborating, staying focused, and being flexible.
Okay.
Think about if something goes wrong, you have a technical issue, maybe weather changes suddenly.
Right.
A good team player isn't just focused on their own individual task.
Right.
They are aware of the bigger picture and they're ready to adapt to help the team succeed.
It's that we're all in this together mentality.
That's it.
That's so crucial.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't talk about teamwork without talking about CRM.
We can't.
Crew resource management.
Yeah.
You want to be able to define that clearly.
For sure.
So I have a basic understanding.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I could, explain it eloquently.
So it's all about recognizing that everyone in the cockpit and even beyond has a role to play in safety.
Okay.
It's effective communication, shared situational awareness, and using all available resources to make the best decisions.
So it's not just about the pilots. It's about recognizing that,
It's not.
the cabin crew, air traffic control, maintenance, we're all part of this.
You got it. We're all part of a larger system.
Okay, that helps me.
Yeah.
It's not just a thing pilots do. It's a mentality.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's talk about clear communication. Now, this might seem obvious,
but
it's so important in aviation.
It is paramount. A simple misunderstanding can have huge consequences.
It really can. So whether you're talking to your fellow pilots, ATC, cabin crew, anyone, clarity is just so key.
It is.
Okay. Decision-making.
Okay.
Another big part of being a pilot.
Yeah.
Now, this guide mentions a clear model.
The clear model,
For decision-making. Stands for clarify, look at options, evaluate, act, and review. So it's a more structured way to make decisions, especially when things are getting a little hairy.
It is, yeah.
So let's say you've got an engine issue. The weather's changed.
Yeah.
First, you got to clarify the problem.
Exactly.
Then, what are our options?
Right.
Okay, let's look at the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to act. We've made our decision.
Yep.
And then we've got to review. What could we do better next time?
Absolutely. So it's a mental checklist to make sure you're not skipping steps.
Okay. Now, let's be honest. Even the best pilots make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
How should we address those in an interview? Because it feels a little risky.
It does,
to bring up your mistakes.
Yeah.
But I also imagine it's important to show that you're, human.
Yes, you're human.
And capable of learning.
Absolutely, yeah. So this guide, it encourages you to approach mistakes with honesty.
Okay.
And a focus on learning.
Okay.
And it suggests using the Threat and Error Management Framework, TM.
TEM. Okay, tell me more about that.
So it's about recognizing that threats and errors are just inherent in aviation.
Right. It's a risky business.
It is. The key is to manage them effectively.
Okay.
So think about it. Every flight has potential threats.
Right. Yeah.
Weather, mechanical issues, even just fatigue.
Oh, yeah. Fatigue is the big one.
It is. And then errors, they're going to happen. Miscommunications,
right.
Procedural slip-ups.
Yep.
TEM is about recognizing those threats and errors, taking steps to reduce them, and having a plan if things go wrong.
So it's not about pretending we're perfect. It's about being prepared.
That's it.
For when those things happen.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when we're discussing a mistake, we can use this as a framework for how we talk about it.
Exactly.
Okay. One last question for this part.
Okay.
The classic, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Right. The 5-year plan.
I always find this question a little awkward to answer.
It can be, but what they're really asking you is about commitment, your ambition, and how much you align with the airline's goals.
So they want to see that I'm in it for the long haul.
Exactly. That you're not just using this as a stepping stone.
Right. They want to know you're invested in this company.
Yes.
Okay. And they want to see, okay, how do you see yourself growing with us?
Exactly.
Okay.
So this guide suggests highlighting your desire to continue learning. Maybe specializing in a certain aircraft type, getting additional certifications.
So it's not just a job, it's a career path.
It is.
Okay.
You can also mention becoming a trusted team member.
Yeah.
You know, contributing to the airline safety culture, mentoring new pilots.
So you're thinking big picture.
Absolutely, how you can contribute to the airline's success.
It's not just, I want to be a captain. Okay. It's, here's how I see my role evolving with you.
You got it.
Okay, that's really helpful. Now, we've covered a lot of ground.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of, foundational elements.
Yeah.
But in part 2, we're going to delve deeper into those behavioral questions, those scenarios that really make you think on your feet.
Absolutely.
I'm ready.
All right, good.
Thanks for breaking all this down.
Yeah, you bet.
From first officer to captain, master your airline command course. Are you ready to shatter the skies and take your aviation career to the next level? Whether you're just starting out or aiming for your airline command, Captain James is your ultimate co-pilot for success. With over decades of experience in both the Air Force and top airlines, Captain James has flown everything from fast jets and the P-3 to the Boeing and the Airbus, racking up countless hours in the sky. His unmatched insider knowledge and thrilling cockpit stories are packed into his best-selling professional airline pilot series and his Sky Call YouTube podcast, Buckle Up. It's time to fly high. What you'll get is the Airline Command Prep course. You will master the technical know-how, the standard operating procedures, and the leadership skills needed to take command of any flight. Next is the Airline Pilot Interview Manual. Nail your interview with insider tips, real-world scenarios, and expert strategies that'll make you the top pick. And finally, aircraft-specific guides that cover 600-plus technical questions for every aircraft. Become a pro on both the Airbus and Boeing. Get ready to impress with your technical knowledge. And join Captain James on his Sky Call YouTube podcast for exclusive, behind-the-scenes access to the aviation world. From interview hacks to emergency handling, airline operations, and real stories from the flight deck. This is your personal seat in the cockpit. It's time to level up your skills and knowledge with expert insights and answers to your most burning aviation questions. Start your journey now with Captain James books on Amazon Kindle. The QR code is on the screen and the links are below. This is your first-class ticket to a successful aviation career. Become the pilot you were meant to be with Captain James by your side.
Welcome back to our deep dive into airline pilot interview. In part 1, we really laid the groundwork.
Yeah, we did.
Talking about the interview format, those big 3 questions, even touching on some key aviation concepts.
You did. We even had some fun with those acronyms.
Oh, yeah. SCRAPS and CCAMPP.
Which I think are more than just memorization tools. They really help you understand those concepts, like what makes a good captain, what makes a good leader.
Absolutely. So now, are you ready to tackle those behavioral questions?
Let's do it.
Because remember, these questions are all about, how you've handled real-life situations in the past.
Right, right.
It's showing them that you can think on your feet, make good decisions under pressure, and that you learn from experience.
And part one, I think, really solidified those like foundational concepts.
Okay.
So I feel a little more ready to tackle these.
Good. Well, this guide recommends that you prepare for these questions by thinking about 5 challenging scenarios from your career.
Okay.
Almost like having a pre-flight checklist for your interview stories.
5 specific scenarios.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems a lot easier than trying to think of every possible question they could ask me.
It is. And you can adapt these to fit a bunch of different questions.
Okay.
So shall we dive into some categories for these scenarios?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so the first one is teamwork.
Teamwork, which we all know is absolutely essential in aviation.
Yeah, it is. It's literally life or death.
Yeah. So it's not enough to just say, I'm a team player.
You got to back it up with examples.
We've got to show them.
Yeah. So think about a time when you had to work really well with other people, maybe during a difficult flight or some complex ground operation. What comes to mind for you?
Well, I immediately think about a situation where I had to work really closely with the cabin crew during a medical emergency.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a long-haul flight, and we had a passenger who suddenly became very ill.
Okay. Good example. So when you're telling that story, you want to use the STAR technique.
Right, STAR.
Situation, task, action, result. So you got to start by setting the scene.
Okay.
Describe the situation, the different rules people had. What were the communication challenges?
Right. So I was the pilot in command, ultimately responsible for everyone on board.
Yeah.
The cabin crew were responsible for giving that immediate medical care to the passenger.
Right.
We had to figure out, is the situation serious enough to divert? How do we communicate with medical professionals on the ground?
Exactly. So what did you do?
Yeah.
What were your actions to really promote that teamwork, make sure everyone's on the same page?
Okay, so I established really clear communication with the cabin crew.
Okay.
We were using standard phraseology, confirming instructions, just making sure there was no room for misunderstanding. I was delegating tasks based on everyone's expertise. I was really listening to their input, and I was using that to make my decisions.
Excellent.
You really want to show that you're a leader, that you communicate well, you're collaborative.
Absolutely. So what was the result?
Yeah.
How did it all end?
Well, we were able to stabilize the passenger.
Good.
We communicated effectively with those medical professionals on the ground, made a safe landing. The passenger got the care they needed.
Wow.
And actually ended up making a full recovery.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
It really shows your teamwork skills, especially under pressure. Okay, let's move on to the next scenario. Dealing with a difficult colleague.
Oh, yeah. I think everyone's had to deal with
Everyone has.
someone difficult at some point.
Yeah. So think about a time where you had a personality clash, maybe with another pilot, or maybe someone who just wasn't pulling their weight.
Right.
It could even be someone in another department, maintenance, dispatch, whatever.
Okay. I remember a time I had to fly with a first officer who had a very, very different communication style than mine.
Okay.
This was early in my career. I was still pretty new as a captain.
Yeah.
And this first officer was super experienced, but also very direct. I'd almost say blunt in their communication.
Okay, yeah, that can be tricky.
So thinking back to STAR,
Yes.
set the scene, the communication challenges.
Right.
Well, this first officer, they were really task-oriented. There was a lot of casual conversation. The briefings were bare minimum, very efficient.
Right.
But it was hard to build rapport.
Yeah.
A good working relationship.
Understandable. So what did you do? How did you handle it?
Well, I realized that expecting them to change their style wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So I had to adapt.
Okay.
I had to be more direct, more to the point, making sure my instructions were super clear.
Got it. So you kind of met them in the middle. You adjusted your style.
I did.
Okay, good.
And, I tried to acknowledge their experience, ask their opinion.
Okay.
Make it clear I valued what they brought to the table.
That's good. You're showing flexibility, respect.
Yeah.
So what was the outcome of all this? Did the relationship get better?
It did.
Good.
Over time, we developed a better understanding of each other.
Okay.
And it was a much more effective working relationship.
That's great. It really shows how sometimes adapting your style can improve teamwork, even with tough personalities. Right. You ready for the third one?
Hit me.
Deadlines.
Deadlines.
Aviation's full of deadlines.
Oh, yeah. Always up against the clock.
So think of a time you had to meet a really tight deadline.
Okay.
Maybe a sim check, a training course, something like that.
I remember when I had to complete my instrument rating in a really short time.
Oh, wow.
There were some schedule changes, and it really compressed the timeline. I had a very limited number of days to get through all the ground school, the sim sessions, the flight, all of it.
That's stressful. So how did you handle that pressure?
Well, I knew I had to be super organized.
Right.
So I made a really detailed study plan, broke the whole syllabus down into smaller chunks,
Right.
focused on the most important stuff, and I was constantly talking to my instructors to make sure I was on track.
So good time management, organization, you were being proactive?
Yeah, and I'm happy to report I met the deadline.
You did it.
Yeah, it was tough.
I bet.
But, I managed my time, stayed focused, and I passed that check ride.
That's great. You took a stressful situation and really showed that you can work under pressure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what's next?
Okay, this one might feel a little tougher.
Okay.
Think of a time when you didn't meet your manager's expectations.
Oh, okay.
Because it's important to show that you're human, you make mistakes.
Right. We all make mistakes.
But you learn from them. So what comes to mind?
Well, there was this time pretty early in my career. I made a mistake during a pretty routine maneuver.
Oh, okay.
My instructor was not happy about it.
Understandable.
It wasn't a safety issue, really.
Right.
But it was a procedural error.
Okay.
Something I should have caught.
Yeah. So the key here is not to focus on the mistake itself.
Right.
But on how you responded.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do?
So I owned it.
Good.
I didn't make excuses.
Good.
I listened to my instructor's feedback, asked questions, made sure I really understood what went wrong.
So you were accountable, you were willing to learn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then I went back and reviewed everything,
Okay.
practiced in the sim, really drilled it in.
So you took initiative.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure it wouldn't happen again.
Good. What did your instructor say?
Oh, they were pretty tough at first.
Yeah, I bet.
But I think they saw that I was taking it seriously, that I was committed to learning from it.
Good.
And becoming a better pilot.
Yeah, that's a great example of how owning your mistakes and having that growth mindset can actually turn a negative experience into a positive one.
Yeah. Okay, what's the last scenario category?
Communication challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Aviation is global. You're going to have to talk to people from all over the world.
Different languages, different cultures. It's something you just have to be prepared for.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So think about a time when you had to overcome a language barrier or just different cultural communication styles. What comes to mind?
Okay, so one time I was flying in a country where I didn't really speak the language.
Okay.
And I had to talk to ATC, in their language.
Yeah.
I could get the basic instructions.
Yeah.
But there were some things I just wasn't familiar with.
Right.
So how did you make sure you were communicating clearly?
Well, I used standard phraseology as much as possible.
Okay.
I spoke slowly and clearly. I repeated things back to confirm I understood, and I wasn't afraid to ask for clarification, if I wasn't sure about something. I also used hand signals, visual aids, anything to get the message across. So you were resourceful, you were adaptable, and you were putting safety first.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the outcome?
We were able to communicate. I completed the flight safely. And it really drove home the importance of being a clear communicator, especially in a tough spot.
That's great. A great example of how you can overcome those communication challenges with a little resourcefulness. So you've got 5 solid scenarios now.
I do.
You can use those to answer a lot of different behavioral questions. But how do you make sure those stories really land with the interviewers?
That's a good question. I feel good about the stories themselves.
No.
But I'm not sure how to, tailor them to different questions.
Well, that's where STAR comes in.
Right. STAR.
Remember, it's all about structure. Situation, task, action, result.
Yeah.
You're telling a story, beginning, middle, and end.
Okay. So it's like a framework to help me stay on track, keep it concise.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip. When you're talking about the result, focus on the good outcome and what you learned.
So they can really see how these experiences made me a better pilot.
Yeah, exactly. So are you ready to go through some examples of how you can adapt these stories to different questions?
I am. That's what I'm really curious about.
Okay, great. Let's say they ask you, tell me about a time you had to think on your feet. You could use that medical emergency.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You talk about how you quickly assessed everything,
Yeah.
got the information from the crew, talked to the medical people on the ground, and made decisions with limited information.
Right, really focus on the actions.
Exactly. Assessing, gathering info, communicating, decision-making, all things interviewers are going to want to hear about.
So it's about finding those core parts of the story.
Yes.
That match what they're asking.
Exactly. Now, let's say they say, describe a time you use logic to solve a weird problem.
Mm-hmm.
You could use that instrument rating one.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Instead of talking about how stressful it was,
Right.
you can highlight how you broke it down into steps, create a plan, prioritize, all that.
So I'm showing them I can solve problems.
Yes. You're strategic. You're adaptable.
Okay. I like it.
All right, one more. Let's talk leadership.
Okay.
They say, tell me about a time you led a team to a successful outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that first officer with the different communication style?
Oh, yeah.
You could use that.
Okay, so instead of focusing on the conflict,
Yeah.
I can talk about how my leadership skills brought us together.
Exactly. How you adapted, listened, used their strengths.
Okay, yeah.
You're reframing it, showing your leadership skills.
So we've got our scenarios, we've got STAR, and we know how to tailor them.
You got it.
What's next?
Well, in part 3, we're going to wrap up this deep dive
Okay.
with some final strategies to really help you ace those interviews.
All right, I'm excited. All right, welcome back to our final part of this deep dive into airline pilot interview. We've covered a lot.
We have, yeah.
The big questions, key concepts, even prepping for those behavioral questions, using that STAR technique.
We've basically built a flight plan for acing these interviews.
We have. But like any good pilot,
Right,
it's always good to have some backup instruments just in case,
Yep.
right? Always good to be prepared.
So what else does this guide have for us? What are some final tips to really nail those interviews?
Well, one thing this guide really stresses is being prepared for the unexpected.
Okay.
You know, interviewers, they often like to throw in those curveball questions
Right.
just to see how you think on your feet.
Those curveballs.
Right.
Yeah. Any advice for handling those gracefully?
Well, it suggests thinking about a few key areas beforehand.
Okay.
So think about your career path, not just the jobs you've held,
Right.
but the choices you've made along the way.
Okay.
What are your real strengths? And yes, even weaknesses.
Okay.
Why did you choose this career? Where do you really see yourself going long term?
So it's about having a really good understanding of ourselves as pilots. It is. It's more than just reciting the facts. It's about knowing why you're here.
So if we've thought about these things ahead of time,
Yeah.
we're going to be much better equipped to handle those curveballs.
You will. It's like having a mental map
Okay.
of your pilot journey.
So it's really about showing them that we've put the thought in.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing this guide points out is interviewers are looking at more than just your words.
Oh,
They're watching you, your demeanor,
right.
body language, how you handle pressure.
So it's like they're evaluating us on our overall piloting skills, not just...
Exactly. They want to see you're confident, but not arrogant. Professional, but also approachable.
So again, it's about being a good colleague, someone they'd want to fly with.
It is. Now, this guide does focus on the softer skills,
Right.
but it doesn't forget about the technical knowledge.
We can't forget about the fundamentals.
Absolutely not.
Oh.
You got to show them you've got a solid grasp of the concepts, aerodynamics, meteorology, systems. And if they ask you a technical question that stumps you, don't be afraid to admit you don't know.
Okay. So honesty is better than trying to, Beebs your way through it.
It is. It's much better to say, I don't know that for sure, but here's how I would find out.
Yeah, just like in the cockpit.
Exactly. If you don't know, ask. Don't guess.
Safety first.
Exactly. And finally, just like in aviation, practice makes perfect. Or as close to perfect as we can get.
It's like those sim hours.
Yeah. The more you rehearse those answers, the more confident and natural you'll sound.
Well, I feel like we've given our listeners a really comprehensive toolkit here.
I think so, too. And, it's amazing how much of this applies beyond aviation.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Whether you're applying for a job, giving a presentation, or just having a tough conversation, those communication skills, thinking clearly, staying calm, those are all valuable tools.
Yeah, no matter what you do, these are good life skills.
They are.
Now, for a final thought for our listeners, you've heard all this, you've learned all these tips. What unique strengths and experiences would you bring to an airline?
Yeah.
And how would you articulate those?
Yeah. How would you stand out from the crowd?
That's a great question to think about.
So to all you aspiring aviators out there, we wish you the best of luck in reaching for those wings.
Keep practicing, stay confident, and let that passion shine through.
And until next time, happy flying.
Happy flying.